Good morning and welcome to PWR Today for Wednesday morning, May 27th, 2020. I'm the man they call Meathead. And again, we appreciate you listening in every morning during the week. Getting a little Meathead in cup, if you will, every morning. By the way, if you're not getting these live, go ahead and go to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Fight TV, Apple Podcasts. All of our podcasts and all of our PWR Todays are available there. They're absolutely free. Subscribe to let you know when the next episode is available. Go ahead and like them, and you can actually get them whenever you want. They're nice bite-sized episodes that you can listen to and play whenever you want, even on your ride to work. So nothing better than waking up with a little Meathead in your cup. Now, it's Wednesday morning. We got to talk to the man they call Matthew Thomas because it's going to be a little different today. We have to ask him about one night in Denver. Matthew, good morning.
Good morning, Meathead. So you mean out of all the content in the professional wrestling world this week, we have to go into the deep recesses of my memory to see what I can recall from this evening? Is that correct?
Absolutely. So here we are Wednesday morning, and we're going to talk to Matthew Thomas. There is a fabled night in Denver that we need to hear. Our listeners need to hear. I know we talked and joked about this years ago about PWR After Dark. Well, you know what? It's 2020. We're doing that right in the morning. I want to hear everything that happened. We've got you today on Wednesday, and then we're going to talk to Damian tomorrow as well. And we'll get both sides of the story and figure out exactly what happened in Denver.
Well, and that is actually an ongoing mystery that we're trying to figure out at this very moment. Although I think the title of the lead-in was a little misleading because, at least my experience, it wasn't so much the night in Denver as it was the morning after the night in Denver that was so confusing. So to give you a little background, this is probably been 3 years or so ago now. Damian was in town for an occasion. And so we both had very busy.
By the way, for those that don't know, Matthew lives in Denver. So that's why this is it. Matthew is broadcasting to us from Denver, Colorado.
Well, that's a very good point, because otherwise the story just sounds like we just happened to bump into each other in Denver. So, which would have made for, even more interesting story. But yeah, so Damian was out here for an event, and our schedules were both pretty hectic. So we were trying to go back and forth to see when we could, coordinate our schedule. So it just so happened it was a Sunday night, downtown Denver. I believe the festivities, they started off at a speakeasy type of establishment.
Matthew, what time of year is this? What point of the year?
This would have been early November. It may actually have been November 1st.
Okay, so spell it out for us. It's Denver. It's November. Do we have any snow on the ground yet?
No snow at this point. There had not been a snow as of yet. It's cold. It's, and people have that misconception about Denver, though. I think it's a frozen tundra or something of that nature. But I mean, even in early November, you've got, warm days. It's not frozen as of yet. So it's November. It's a little cool outside, but it's manageable. It's manageable at this point. So to set the scene, I'm probably, at this point in the season, I'm probably wearing maybe like a heavier leather jacket. I haven't broken out the full winter apparel as of yet. So
that's a funny misconception as well, Matthew, because, you talk about the winter clothing that you're wearing. I live in the frozen tundra. I mean, I'm 30 minutes from Lambeau Field, and I can't recall the last winter jacket I've ever worn, but go ahead.
All right. So the first place we initially meet up at an establishment, it's like a speakeasy type of establishment. And that's where the evening started. And I have a distinct memory of their signature cocktail. They were bragging about the fact that the ice cube in the drink was actually from an ice block down in the cellar or basement that was chainsawed. The ice was actually, from a chainsawed ice cube. So if you want your drink to taste exponentially better, what you need is a really big block of ice and a chainsaw, Meathead.
So what I need to do is I need to find Jesse James Dupree from Jackal, start up his ring, and we can go out drinking.
That's exactly what you do. And so here's the thing, and you probably know this from experience, but at no point during a night with Damian Nelson do you ever feel like the night is getting out of hand, that anything is being overindulged. It just kind of happens. Okay,
It does. You
it's
follow along. You let everything happen to you. You don't have to go chasing it. It just
it,
happens.
exactly. And at no point during the course of events are you cognizant of, anything is outside the norm. It's, you would think you're just having a cup of coffee, you're just sitting having a conversation. There is no distinct intention at any point of, hey, maybe this is going a little bit, further than it needs to be for a Sunday night when one has to be at work fairly early the next morning.
Now you
So,
don't understand this because you don't have the experience. Sunday night, Tuesday night. What's the difference? Damien is go 7 days a week.
well, and so what we ran into this night was Denver, seemed, for whatever reason, early part of November, closed down pretty early on this Sunday. So actually having a place that you could go to at this point was pretty hard to come by. So after the first establishment, we then went to a place to try to procure food, and say they stopped serving at like 10:30. We were in there at 10:29. So
You're those people.
we were
You're
those
those guys.
people. We were those people. So it was the, really, you want what? Yeah, but you can only order from the top uh upper left quadrant of the menu, So that was the next
So you're
spot.
saying you could
And
only get Happy Meals.
we could only get Happy Meals, basically. And so we were those people. We were those people. And one thing that I want to back this up a little bit, if
Okay.
it's an evening that if it's an evening that I'm, indulging in drink, if you will, I try to keep said drink similar. I don't like going from here to there. So the first place, I believe it was bourbon that we were drinking. So the second place is a Mexican place.
Mhm.
So we're, eating food, and I believe it was tequila there. So we're going from bourbon to tequila. And so after we get kicked out, or they gently nudge us out and tell us it's time to leave, we're finally able to find, it was an establishment that Damien, I believe, had frequented several times during his trip out here. And so this was, Sunday night or Saturday night, whatever. They don't care. They're open till closing time. It's none of this closing early on a Sunday night.
What
So
is
we end
closing
up there.
time in Denver, by the way?
Closing time here's 2.
Okay.
Same in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Okay, so 2 o'clock is standard closing time. But anyway, we end up at this establishment, which is, again, I can't remember exactly, time frame or anything, but it's getting a little bit on in the night. So this is where things take a bit of a turn. So as far as the alcohol goes, we go from bourbon, tequila. I think this is kind of like a little bit of an intermission. So this is beer and more
Did you go out
bourbon
to the
at
lobby? Let's go
at
to
this.
the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby because it was intermission. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it was intermission. I see exactly what you did there. So we end up here. Things are a little bit more laid back than they were at the former establishment. So we're here for quite a while, and at one point at one point during the evening, one of the employees who's actually not working. One of the employees ends up there with the group that we're with, which is about 3 or 4 people at this point, including Damien and myself.
Sure.
And so this is where things get take quite a turn. So we go from there to the person we were with was part of the local the local food service slash bartending business downtown. So at this point, we go bar hopping.
Yep.
So we end up going to, at this point, multiple bars in rapid succession, and we've got a very finite time period between the time that it currently is and the bar's closed. So it is this bar shot, this bar shot, this bar shot. So and if there is a type of alcohol that is made, they're all being mixed at this juncture.
Oh, hey
So
Matthew. So
so
you said this was a few years ago, right? About
mhm.
3 years ago.
3-ish, yeah.
So shot, 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 shot.
So
Something like that.
that's quite literally what was happening. So, that was taking us right up to, the closing time there, and around this time period, Damien had apparently had some food from a taco truck,
Oh,
previous evenings, and so we end up at a place on the corner or wherever, and there is the fabled taco truck. So everybody's happy, and everybody waits in line to get the taco. So at this point, everybody's getting their tacos, going home, going separate ways. So this leaves me and the bartender waiting in line for the tacos. So at this point, we may or may not have become engaged in some type of romantic entanglement against this said taco truck.
wait,
While
you
we
were
are
in love with the taco truck employee or this random employee from the
no no
bars?
no 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 this was the person that we had that kind of fallen in with us earlier in the
Oh,
evening. That was a an employee of one of the establishments that we were at
so you're just
previously.
so you're it was either at the Mexican place or at one of the other bars, but you grabbed an employee. You figured the
Well,
best place to, introduce yourself.
not literally, but go ahead.
I was going to say your best way to introduce yourself is to take the young lady and introduce her to the taco truck.
That's where I always take my first dates, is to the taco
Ah,
truck.
I mean, because if there's nothing more romantic than a taco truck, I really don't know.
I mean, I think that goes without saying. So, at this juncture, we decided it would be in our best interest to procure a Lyft or an Uber. I'm not sure exactly which company we went with, but one of the car services. Procure that to go back to my domicile. And because that's the responsible thing to do at this juncture. We had been out having drinks, and we wanted to procure a car service, so we
You were
did. It
supposed
was
to
a
work in the morning too, weren't you?
I was oh yeah, I was supposed to be at work bright and early. And so we do that, and as we are exiting the as we are exiting the car, and you're probably aware with this, if you've been out or coming home or getting ready to leave, it's customary for me to do a self pat down. Now, a self pat down is to make sure I've got all of the essentials, wallet, keys, phone. So as we are exiting the lift and about to arrive to my place, I'm doing my self pat down. Wallet check, keys check, phone no check.
Phone. Phone. Oh,
And
no phone.
there's no phone, and I have a rather large one of those iPhones that
So you're a
it's a
bragger,
pretty
is what you are. You're,
it's a
you're
pretty
pretty big.
it's a pretty good size.
No
I'm
wonder
not
she's
gonna lie.
following you around.
It's a pretty good size, so it's hard to miss. So when you do the self pat
So
down,
she said.
and when you do the self pat down and you're missing something that large, you know it. So but at this junk, it's hard to miss when you do the self pat down. So at this juncture, I realize my phone's missing. So my two options are either to be the good host
Right.
and go with my guest to my apartment, or to run this car down, which doesn't seem like a viable option. So anyway, we get into the place, and at this point, I use my guest phone to try to contact. I believe it was Lyft, to see if they what happens when you lose your phone in a car. So
Do
I
they have an
contact
FAQ
them.
on that on their website?
I remember something. I think the initial point of contact was through the website, and
Okay.
you submitted your information. Of course, submitting my phone number at that juncture was useless because I did not have my phone. So I submitted my guest phone, which they then proceeded to contact me probably 45 minutes later and say, "Hey, sorry, we've got no trace of your phone." So phone is MIA. Um, and I've got to be at work in just a matter of hours. So, wake up in the morning with very little sleep, and at this point, when I have guests at my establishment, I've never really had a situation where I've had to leave them there and go to work.
But
And
you did this.
that's exactly what happened this morning. Was not this morning, but the morning that we're talking about some years
In
back.
question, the night in
Right.
Denver.
Right, the night in Denver. So the morning starts with me um, letting my guest sleep in, and trying to retrace my steps to try to find my phone. No luck. And this was a day where I had an appointment early, but the rest of the day was pretty light, and I was hoping I would be able to um, leave pretty early, and then come back to work a little bit later if things lined up correctly. So I get to work, and I actually get a phone call from my sister who lives in Virginia, telling me that my phone was in my apartment's leasing office.
Oh,
And so the only way that I formulated that this came together, because the car company did not have my phone apparently, was that if you've got an iPhone, if you press the little button down and say, who does this phone belong to, there is a built-in way that will give you the information. Well, when I first got my iPhone, somebody had told me a rumor that, hey, Siri will call you anything you tell her to call you. So, of course, I had to put it to the test.
of
I
course you
had to
did.
put it to the test and, requested that Siri call me something very, very, very profane. That
So
you,
this is NSFW. I mean, we can't say this here. Is that the
no,
whole thing? You're telling me
yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah, no, I'm not going to say my Siri name. Okay. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not that kind of person. But when you would press this button, it would say, who does this phone belong to? It would say the term, and then it would give my full name and place of employment, which I'm not sure how that happened.
Hmm.
But to the best of my knowledge, was the best I can piece together was that the phone was somewhere near my place and somebody stumbled upon it. Who does this phone belong to? Horrible name with then my real name and place of employment. So anyway, I was able to handle my first early business there, and able to get out of my workplace after about an hour or so, to go back and claim my phone and play proper host to my guest at the
Who's still at the
establishment for
house?
who's still at the house. Yeah,
Did she
who's
do
still
any
at the house
dishes
and,
at least?
and sleeping. Funny you mentioned that, because there were actually clothes. I kid you not, there were clothes that had been laundered, but but I think it may have been because you know you you're out a night drinking.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it doesn't agree with you.
Oh,
So I, as best I can make sense of,
so
at
what you're
some
saying? It's
point,
that scene from what is that? Hall Pass. You've seen Hall Pass, right?
I've not seen that film. No, Meathead.
Listeners, it's the scene from Hall Pass where Jason Sudeikis takes the woman home from the club and she feels better afterwards. Go ahead and Google that. It's worth a Google. Go ahead, Matthew.
Well, maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I'll have to watch that. I'll have to watch that piece of cinema. So yeah, but there were clothes that had been laundered. Interestingly enough, but yeah, being the good host, I returned to my establishment, picked up my phone, I socialized with my guest for a little while before taking her back to her establishment. Interestingly enough, during all of this, I had not stopped to check my gas tank on my car. So I live a little bit outside of Denver. This individual lived in Denver proper, right in the middle of the city. So I'm in the middle of the city right around probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon and realized that I am about out of gas. So thankfully, I was able to make it to a gas station, which is kind of hard to find, right in the middle of the city
It's
there.
funny you say
And
that you were out of gas because I think that's why your guest has to leave, right? Because you were just completely out of gas.
maybe.
Maybe. But anyways,
There's some truth in that, and I would say that it was a very fitting analogy. But no, was able to probably early afternoon get back to work and complete my day at work. And here's the thing too. During all of this, we had tried to reach out to Damien. Damien had decided to make an impromptu trip to Las Vegas.
so this guy literally just got up and got on a plane and goes, you know what? I'm out of here. See ya. Bye.
Yeah, yeah. So Damien made a little second journey to Las Vegas. Now I think he came back to Colorado later that week because he had to fly out of Colorado home. But yeah, whether this was decided that night or when this decision was made, I don't know. But we tried to reach out to Damien. The following day, Damien was on his way to Las Vegas. So that was.
How does that text or call go? Hey, Damien, where you at? Just checking to see if you're okay. I'm in Vegas now. Denver and Vegas are not next door. How did you get there? Did you charter a plane? Is Stephen Wright flying it? I mean, how did that end up going?
I would say you gotta hop the boat, but we are landlocked here, so it probably knocks that option out.
Probably. Wow. Matthew Thomas, I feel that even though maybe I'm a couple years older than you again, and I've had some adventures myself, I feel that this one ranks right up there with some of the silly shenanigans that I've gone through. I have a similar story, which I'm not going to be telling tonight, but something along the lines of I'm hanging out in a group. One of the people basically ditches us and hangs out with the homeless for the rest of the night.
Well, that's admirable.
For who? The homeless ditched him afterwards.
Oh, so he got, oh, wow. Well, I guess it served him right for ditching you guys.
Pretty much. So, well, folks, we're going to listen to Damian Nelson's half of it. How did he end up going from Denver to Vegas and then back to Denver because he had to fly home? And again, being that this is a few years ago, he might have still been stateside. I mean, maybe not living in China at that point. I don't know where he was going, but we're going to hear more about this tomorrow with Damian Nelson. So, Matthew, unbelievable. Glad you're okay. Glad your guest is okay. You let us know when the wedding's happening because, obviously that all went, swimmingly well. So, wow, unbelievable. Folks, for more shenanigans like this, we don't just talk wrestling every day here at PWR Today or at PWR 360. Head on over to PWR360.com. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, we're on the YouTube. Also available at Fight TV, and you can download these podcasts right on Apple as well. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and you get notifications when new episodes. You never know when we're going to drop one of these shenanigan filled episodes as well. So for Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call Meathead. Thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.